Hello, Shadows, and today will be part 5 of What If that you had water bending. And there's going to be a major plot twist. I was thinking about it for a little bit, and since I don't know what happens in the TV show, this episode's going to be really, really interesting. Okay, so I will going to backtrack into where the villains were disappearing, and I'm going to say Bakugo and Deku automatically rush the villains. And while they're rushing the villains, let's see, how should I make this happen? As they're rushing the villains, they get teleported into the villain's place. The villains teleport back out because they really only wanted Bakugo and Deku. So they teleport away after causing a fire, making some mischief. They teleport back out. Excuse me. Uh, Hold up, I need something to drink. There. Okay. So they teleport back out, and they go to tell Deku and Bakugo to join them. Bakugo, Deku, they never. They try torturing them, trying to make them give in. In the end, they don't give in, and why? As they die, Deku, like, they put Deku and Bakugo in the same room and fill it up with poison, and they say, since you're not going to join us, you both will die. And they walk up to each other, and they kiss each other. And as Deku's dying, he hears in his head, Experiment 114, critical health, poison, about to die. Do you want to be reborn? And Deku, he says yes, but I don't want to leave Bakugo. So the voice in his head says, Suspect 114 has one wish, not leave loved one. Then he says that how much ever power that he has, he wants to split it in half with Bakugo. So in the end, they die and they get teleported into another dimension. And for the sake of the video, I got this from another person, and I'm going to call it the other world, the other dimension. I'll call it, since I don't want to call it exactly what he did. I'll call it the other dimension. And then Deku said, because Deku woke up first, he'll hear a voice saying, "This is your new life. Welcome." And then he'll say, "What do you mean?" And the voice will say, "Well, you's about to die, and I teleported you into another body." And he'll say, whereas as soon as he says where's Bakugo, he'll see Bakugo laying on the floor. But Bakugo will look different. He'll have long black hair like Eraserhead's, but he'll have like a scar across his eye going sideways. And he'll have like elf ears and I'll say vampire teeth. Yeah. And Deku will have werewolf ears and she'll be a little bit shorter. So I think I said he was like, I don't think I said this, but he was 6'8", now he's 5'4", and Bakugo's 6'9", yeah, 6'9". I just heard what came out my mouth. I'm just going to ignore it though. Yeah, he sits 9. Okay, so he goes over and wakes up Baka. Bakugo hears the same voice, but it's a little bit different. The voice says, "You have been teleported to this world on not suspect, subject 114 wish. I don't remember the numbers I said exactly, but yeah, he says that. And Bakugo's like, "What do you mean?" He explains, blah blah. So they wake up, they're in a cave, and Deku tries using his quirk, but the voice in his head says, "You do not have that power in this world. Would you like to try to gain it?" Bakugo tries using his explosions, it says the same thing. Deku says no, he would not like trying to gain that power. Bakugo also says no. And they ask the voice, what powers can they gain? He picks up a list of all elements, light, dark, fire, water, earth, basic elements. They both see it like a menu on a video game, like a level up stat on a video game. And then Bakugo and Deku ask, what is this world? And he says, this is... what should the world be? He'll just say this is a world where every mystical creature is existing, and you are both half-breeds. One of you is a elf and a vampire, and the other one of you is a werewolf and a orc. Not an orc, what's that little short thing? I want to say goblin, but I know it's not a goblin. Fuck, I forgot it's called. The blacksmith short thingies. Fuck, I forgot what they're called. Yeah. So, let's start off with basic skills. Deku starts off with Fireball. Bakugo starts off with Fireball. Bakugo starts off with Light Beam, yeah. And they train their quirks running through the cave that they were in, killing like big spiders, big snakes, and they asked each other, why is everything so big in this world? Like, big spiders, big snakes, big lizards, and like what? And then they check their stats, and they have 5 levels. Now the reason that they both leveled up fast, because Deku and Bakugo has the quick learning skill. It's a beneficial skill. So they go halfway through the halfway through the cave. They get level 24, and they both leave the cave. As soon as they leave the cave, they see somebody getting attacked by a pack of werewolves, I'll say. Deku automatically howls for some reason, and the werewolves stop and look dead at him. And Deku is a alpha, and he can turn Bakugo into a werewolf. He just doesn't know that yet. So they all look at him dead in his eye, and they don't bow or nothing. They just run off and go to their alpha. So the dude that heard Deku howl starts looking at him in fear, and Deku walks up and says, "You have no reason to worry, kid," because he's like, the person that he ran into was like 8, and Deku is like, he's like 16, and Bakugo's 17 in this. Okay, so they ask, where do you live? They take him home. They figure out that his dad is the chief, and his dad asks for their ID. They go to look for their ID and say they don't have it. And he says, well, where did it go? And Bakugo says that we lost it in a river. Because he's just trying to make up a random excuse. So he says that he lost it in a river. That automatically makes the chief, like, think they're lying. But he doesn't say nothing about it and says, well, we need to get you some new ID. So they take him to the blacksmith, and I'll say his name is... what should the blacksmith's name be? I'll say the blacksmith's name is Leo. And the kid that they saved name was... I'll say Z. Z. No, Z. His name was Z. His full name is Izuku. Yeah, I'll say Izuku. Because I can't say the name right now, so yeah, his name is Izuku. So they see the... No. Ooh, I don't know if I should start this as a new series or just keep it. What if Deku was a waterbender? But for now, it'll just be what if Deku was a waterbender, and I might do a retake on this. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, the meeting Leo. Leo pulls out like this crystal ball and says, "Put your hand on it." They both put their hand on it, and he says, "No, wait, one at a time." But for some reason, it still works. So he's like, "Wait, what?" And he sees that they both have half the stats, like they're sharing stats basically. So if one pulls up their stats, the other can see exactly what stats they have. Like, it's basically like if you have a pet in a video game, you can pull up their stats. It's basically like they're both each other's pet in a way, so they both can pull up each other's stats. So Deku and Bakugo was suppressing their power as much as possible because they didn't want to look suspicious. But they wasn't at high level to begin with, so it just made them level 10. So they're really 15 levels more than what it showed. So they get their ID, and then they hear like a explosion. So they run up to see what's happening, and they see two kids fighting. One is the kid that they found in the forest, and the other is Kane. So they say, he says, "How many times do I have to tell you to not go in that forest and cause master trouble?" And he says, "But I had to, I needed to get stronger." And he says, "What do you not understand? You'll never be strong. You're just weak." And this makes Bakugo just a little bit mad because he sees a little bit of himself in that kid. But he doesn't do nothing about it because the chief says, "Just let this fight play out. I want to see who's stronger." So they let it play out. And as Z is getting beaten up, this weird black and white aura starts appearing around his body, and he says, "I will no longer be your punching bag." And then he flies up. He out of nowhere, he gets one black wing and one white wing, and a half a halo and a half a horn. And then he says, "I'll no longer be your punching bag." And then he says shadow rain. And then darkness starts hitting the kid over and over again. And then the chief stops the fight. And as soon as the chief stops the fight, the dude collapses. The Z collapses on the floor, and his wings and stuff just disappears. Then he wakes up again 3 hours later, and his wings are back. And the reason that his wings disappeared because he ran out of mana, basically magic energy. Deku and Bakugo tried doing the same thing that he did, but for some reason Bakugo becomes a full demon and Deku becomes a full angel. I'll say this this because I kind of want them to have kids. This is like a Omega verse where anybody can get pregnant. This, yeah, cause half demon, half angel kids, you know. Okay, so they live out their lives there for a few years, just training, figuring out like new spells and how everything works there. They eventually forget about the voice, but Deku and Bakugo unlocks a new skill, and it's called Heavenly Fusion. No, it's called Divine Fusion. And the voice says, "You have unlocked a mastery skill," and they're like, "Wait, where did that come from?" And then they remember the voice that they died and all that. And then he says, "What's Heavenly Fusion?" And he says, "It's basically y'all two fusing together and becoming one." So they go into a big field and say, "Heavenly Fusion" at the same, no, Divine Fusion at the same time. And they fuse, and when they fuse, they have one big, like, super big angel wing and one, like, super big demon wing, and a demon tail, and a angel halo. They're like half a size of a dragon in this form, but they have the full power of a dragon. And dragons are on the top of the food chain. Like, they're the strongest beast you can get. And as they turn into this divine form, a pack of, I'll say, a pack of ghouls gets attracted to the magic. Like, they sense a strong body of magic, so they get attracted to it, running to it. And they attract like wolves, vampires, basically every low life thing that feeds on magic energy, slimes. They attract it all. And as soon as they attract it, the voice says, "You have learned a new skill, attract beast." And they look again and they say, it says, "You have learned a new skill, devour all." They both, like, they're still in their divine form, so they walk up to the, like, basically the army of animals and slimes, vampires, werewolves, and they say, "Devour all." And like their mouth just opens wide, and it's like a vacuum, a black hole of sorts, and it sucks everything in. And the voice says, "Scanning mill." And it says, "You have now can turn into, you have skill, bat transformation, werewolf transformation, slime transformation." Basically, every transformation except dragon. So they transform. Bakugo transfers into his bat form. Bakugo transfers. Deku turns into his werewolf form. Bakugo turns into his bat form. And while they're in this form, Bakugo lands on Deku's head and is just sitting there. And then a pack of wolves comes out of the forest, and their alpha challenges Deku to a fight. And if Deku loses, he has to join their pack. But if he wins, he becomes the pack alpha. So it's basically like 20 versus 1. And they all attack him, and he says, "Heavenly cry." and it just starts raining, and thunder starts hitting all around him. And he puts his hand out, and it makes a heavenly sword. And he says, heavenly slice. And this slices the alpha right in half. And then they all start bowing in a circle around Deku. And Deku's confused because he can't understand them. And the voice says, "You have unlocked a new skill. Stand ears," basically where he can understand any language as soon as he hears it. And the alpha's daughter walks up and says, "Are you my new dad?" And he just looks at her confused. And then she turns into her human form. And she's about the age of that one girl. That one girl that was getting... Fuck, I forgot her name. The one girl that Deku saved her. The only reason I know about her is because I seen her in a picture. I don't even know if she's even a real character. But she kind of looks exactly like her. Just without the horns instead of horns. When she has werewolf ears and tail. And they all turn into their human form. Now Deku and Bakugo would leave the village and make their own village. And by the time that they're done making like the big castle, I'd say, and making at least 20 homes for everybody, and making a wall, and they're not even done building the homes because like it was a big pack, so it's like 140 people, and there's only 30 people living in the castle counting Deku and Bakugo. So they make like a big wall, and it's in the middle of the forest, and automatically people like they don't know what's going on, but they see like the big castle, so they start walking into the forest trying to figure out what it is. But every time they get near, it's like they get teleported back out, and that's because Bakugo and Deku went in their heavenly fusion form and made a magic barrier around the thing where it just teleports everybody out if they get too close. And it's not going to be there forever. They're just doing that while they are building, so nobody gets in their way. By the time that they are done, half the forest is gone, because half the forest turned into their base of operation, basically like their pride or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that will be it for today, because it's literally a 20-minute video. So goodbye, shadows.